Good morning, YouTube. It is Sunday. We are going to head out to Peters Creek today. Waiting for April to get up. Actually, I'm just giving her a little bit more time for beauty sleep. So we had a marketing meeting with the president of Meineke, president of National Advertising. A few other teams were operations managers, point of sale system managers, and training manager. So a handful of people from corporate showed up to the meeting. And then what we talked about was what's going on in the automotive industry, what's going on with Meineke nationwide, what's going on in Philadelphia, and we represent the Philadelphia market, and I'm on the Philadelphia advertising team. So we talked about the differences between national and Philadelphia's performance, and there was a few key things about the meeting that I took away and said, wow, I really like this environment, right? Because we haven't had a corporate to Philadelphia environment in a while, and I feel that the consistency and engagement has been lacking. So there is opportunities for the Philadelphia area to fly out or go so far away to engage with corporate and some meetings, which really isn't good for a person like myself who really is not into traveling hours and hours and hours or flying away and being away from their home and their business and their children and everything. So I feel that puts distance between communication. So what I'm going to do is going to break this down a little bit, and we're going to talk about phone skills, and I don't know if I'm going to continue to talk about anything else. So as a system together, we track our phone calls via a special number that's dedicated to each center. So it's not the actual phone number that the store was originated with. It's another phone number that we can track some information. So what they were saying is that our phone call conversion rate, I believe, as a national average was 23%. And I was like, wow, when I worked for Midas, we had regular phone training, refresher courses, updates. Every month there was a phone shopper shopping the shop to make sure that we had a consistent program that worked on a phone to overcome the customer's objections and ultimately get the appointment and get them to show up to the store, right? So there was key areas that you had to hit, and let me see if I can actually remember, because we technically, it wasn't a training course, they were just a refresher on what we should be doing to improve the phone conversions in the center. And we had one center in Philadelphia that we were commending, or they were commending, at a 50% phone conversion rate, and they commended his success for the phone script that Meineke uses. Now I will tell you this, in certain areas, different demographic areas, that I don't care what phone script you have, when you get yo on the phone, can I get right in for an engine job today? Chances are you're not going to get that phone conversion to show up. Or, there's many reasons on why you're not going to get that person to show up. Or that person has so much time on their hands that they are just dialing every phone number and they are looking for the cheapest person to repair their car. And after 100 phone calls, they will decide if, one, they're going to buy their own parts and do it themselves, or they're going to buy their own parts and continue to torture somebody until they install it. And with that becoming more of a phone call in our centers, we don't convert those phone calls. So for me, that's, one negative thing that I will not do is install customers' parts. On a rare occasion I will, but it's not a common practice. So one was answer the phone within 3 rings, answer with a positive attitude, letting the caller know on the other end of the phone that you are happy with what's going on in your environment and you are ready to positively work with that customer and answer their questions and needs. Basically, a smile behind the phone. And I'll tell you, for me, it's very difficult sometimes. I have to woo-saw before I answer the phone because a customer just aggravated me. A technician had a problem. A vehicle's a problem. Somebody was late to work. There's so many moving parts for me to where I kind of stay off the phone. Although I believe that I could make our current phone conversion much better with a few changes. So that's why Rachel answers the phone, and she really hasn't had any formal training other than what I give her, and it's stripped down to what I was doing, and myself not really saying, wow, if we do a better job on the phone, and I'm just going to say, weeding out the customers who are looking for an ultra super discount or some free services or information seeking without having to pay. There's a few different ways that one I could teach Rachel through training, and Meineke's actually going to provide some phone training, which I said, I'm going to have my staff go paid training, just so that they get this education process. And I've had phone training with Midas in '91, and Chubby, and when I worked for somebody, sometimes you have to do what they say, right? This is your job. And I took it serious. So, I take my business serious too, but I needed a refresher course. I needed that slap in the face to say, here's what's going on in Philadelphia and your center, and this is national, and we really don't do a good job at converting the phone calls. Now, is that just because Philly's a roughneck area? I don't really know the answer to that. I have one center in Philadelphia that has a 50% conversion rate on the phone, not 100. So, and these guys are doing that script, and their people are well trained on it. So how do you improve 50% if they're really diligently working on it? Well, I will tell you, the people who are calling, right, 50% of the people who are calling are going someplace else for some reason or another. They will not convert that customer to a visit. It could be price, it could be convenience, it could be the other demographics that I'm speaking about is they don't care how nice you are, how much you want to build a relationship on the phone. That customer is not interested in giving you their name, least amount of information. They have no idea what's going on with their car. And if you don't ring their bell through the phone, they're going to keep calling somebody else until they can relate. So they're like, yo, 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 yo. And then they call a shop and say, yo, this is Mill Street Tire. And they're like, yo, this is Raphael. And they're like, hey, you speak Spanish? And then they blah, 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 blah. And they built that relationship. And then it's like, oh, yeah, well Raphael's going to do the same job that you quoted me for, for $25. So there's going to be a certain amount of people you just can't convert in certain areas. So every demographic area is going to be different. And you need a different person to appeal to it. So I'll tell you this. When someone calls on the phone and they speak very little English, and they prefer to speak to somebody in Spanish, we never convert that phone call. If that person of certain demographics cannot speak English properly and is not interested in working with us with our phones to convert the language, as soon as they say, do you speak Turkey, do you speak Spanish, and they're not interested in building a relationship with us, that person is out the door. So there's, that becomes difficult too. I can't have somebody who speaks German, Russian, Indian, Chinese, all that stuff in my store. It's just impossible. We're on the phone. So then, you get through the greeting, you try and, understand what's going on. Hey, we're just going to use Rob for an example. My name is Anthony. And they say, hey, I just need a price on brakes. And then in the past, what we would do is just ultimately just give them a price on brakes and get off the phone, right? Human nature is just give them what they ask for. Well, then that person is just going to continue to call around until someone maybe builds that relationship on the phone with them to get them to come in. And there's many different ways to build that relationship to get them in. It's just, are you willing to give them what they want? So, okay, Rob, you want to say what type of vehicle, what makes you think you need brakes? He's like, oh, well, average customers, oh, well, I feel something, or I know, or I was at another shop and they said they were low or need it. And then you move into, um, you know, the appealing part of the phone conversation where, uh, hey, can we get it in? Can we take a look at it? Make sure that that's exactly what you need. It may or may not be this or that. Avoiding giving the customer the price, trying to get the commitment for them to come in and schedule an appointment, or at least show up, come in now, right? So you say, hey, can you just come in now? In my experience, right, when I say come in now, most people just say they can't. And is that because they want to schedule the appointment and then schedule appointment that works for them? Like, hey, what works for me is we can get you in right now, or can we get you in here? And they're like, oh, no. And then we're still talking. So they're avoiding tiptoeing around the appointment or the come in now, or either way. And then you say, hey, have you been here before? And if they're saying no, right, and then you're like, do you know where we're located? So we got their name, we got the vehicle, we got their problem. We identified ourselves, we identified the location, and we still haven't given them the price. So this is kind of what this phone script is. Ultimately, people that call my center are just demanding the price. And that's why we just stripped it down to just giving the price. There's another way of overcoming that too, which I don't agree with, is offering a free brake inspection and estimate. I don't like bait and switch kind of stuff. And we're just using the brake category for this. Today's vehicles are too complex and too advanced. Customers are not usually 100% educated on their needs, nor do they know what's required to restore the braking system to proper operation. Some people think warning lights on their dashboard are just a normal thing when it includes stability, ABS, traction control, blah, 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 blah. And by you just fixing one part without letting them know what's going on, their expectations are, well, you just worked on my car, and why aren't all my warning lights off? So I kind of skip a free estimate and inspection. Just today's cost of doing business for me is too high, and there's just too much extra things involved in checking car, at least in my area. Pulling tires off, lifting calipers, looking for wheel lock tools, scanning the car to make sure that there's no problems in the system that aren't showing up on the customer's dashboard. And then as soon as you perform a brake job, then they have a problem because you've touched the system and it was already ready to fail, and you didn't know that because you didn't perform the proper diagnostic. So, for me, that's why I don't offer a free estimate or brake inspection. If it's there and we're working on the car, not to get off subject, it is a free visual inspection, and that will include a road test. And if I feel that we need to have a diagnostic, at that point I would inform the customer. So staying on course with the customer who's asking for brakes, like I said, their expectations would probably be a lot higher. This is just me, of us, if you said free brake inspection and estimate. Well, then you get into, then they show up, say they drove 3 hours, or they drove 2 hours, or they had it towed over because they didn't feel safe driving it, right? And then you say, hey, well, now I can't do a free brake inspection. Well, the car's here and the battery's dead. And then they say, well, why wasn't the battery wasn't dead when I got there? And I'm just giving you real scenarios here, and reasons why I don't like to do a free anything. And then if you jump start the car and you start it up and there's multiple warning lights on, and you're like, all right, well, I need to perform a diagnostic. Well, you didn't say there was a diagnostic charge. So I kind of skip away from a free estimate inspection. So in my center, I could improve the phone conversations with the systems that they have in place, but I choose not to for certain reasons, especially because I'm a small shop. So we got through the phone ringing. We answered in 3 rings. We answered it positively with a smile. We identified ourselves. We asked, the customer says, how much are brakes? They didn't even hear you say their name. So I would say sometimes it's better to make sure that you say your name at least 2 or 3 times to people today because they don't listen. So we have um, identified ourselves, answered the phone and phone rang, answered the phone in 3 rings, identified ourselves, um, answered the phone in a positive manner. Customer asks for brakes. We say, can you bring it in right now? Customer says, no, I just want a price. Avoid the price. So we avoid the price. Get more information from the customer, his name, phone number if they're willing to give it, the type of vehicle. Talk to him about, coming in now, try and overcome his objection to coming in now. Offer a time that works for him. Still overcoming his, trying to overcome his objection on scheduling an appointment or getting him to commit to an appointment. And then the customer asks again for the price again. So we avoided the price a few times. Ultimately, at this point, you're going to, if the conversation's not going well and this customer is just wanting a price from you so he can move on to making more phone calls, you're ultimately going to have to avoid the price again and ask him, how do you know, do you need brakes? Who told you? When's the last time it's had brake service? Some people will get aggravated with this, but you're trying to build a relationship. Some people don't want to build a relationship. They just want a price. And then it could feel that, hey, you're asking too many questions. This is not what I want. And then they're going to call somebody else who has a stripped down phone procedure, which is my opinion, right? So after all that, you're going to give them a price. You're going to hopefully try and get features and benefits. But in our experience, as soon as you give them a price, it's click. They hang up. And that's that. And at this point, you're hoping that they would call you back or come back. But most of the phone calls, as soon as you give them the price, for us, it's a hang up. Most, and that would indicate why our phone conversion rates are 21 or 23% call rate conversion. But we're not using 100% of the script. So my goal was to say, all right, I'm going to break down pieces of the phone script and we're going to try and improve what we have now. And I just would like a little bit more improvement on the phone. And say it gets to 30% or 35%. Your ultimate goal would to be 100% phone call conversions. But unless you're giving away free heroin, crack, or needles, or free food, it's not going to happen. So at least for me, or dispensary, like you're selling weed or something like that. So our goal was to just break down the phone script and say we're going to use certain pieces of this and we're going to improve what we do now instead of the stripped down version of us answering the phone. And I made a commitment to myself and I told Rachel and the staff is like, we're going to commit to this. And then we're going to work on this program and we're going to see if we can improve our center. Because remember, we only have one center that has a 50% call rate conversion, and they are in Philadelphia. They do state inspection. They are in a better neighborhood than at least my location, and they're in a better income demographic area, 50%. The rest of the other 52 centers are where my center is for phone call conversion. So I hope that this helped people out there. I will tell you that for me being in the business since 91 professionally, and we haven't really talked about the phone in 10 years or longer in the Philadelphia area, that I saw an area of improvement for my business that I was willing to work on myself, and my manager, who answers the phone 99% of the time, would improve her phone skills. And then you have to just adapt to the area. In most cases, like if your constant phone calls is what the customer just wants, a stripped down phone call so they can just keep calling everyone for that. I'll just give you that example is like they're calling for brakes. How much are brakes? They just want a price. They're going to call me, Midas, Valvoline, Firestone, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to get all these prices all over the place. No one's going to be exactly the same price. They're going to be pretty close. Then that person just may say, F it, I was just going to do the job myself or have a friend do it, but I just wanted to see what the real world pricing is in a professional environment. And then they ultimately would order their parts online or go to the parts store and try and do it themselves or hire somebody else. So they were just testing the water to just see if it's even feasible for them to do it. Or, you know, they're using that leverage against another shop and saying, hey, dude, you're $100 higher, you're $50 higher. And then most shops, in my opinion, would just say, hey, we'll price match that because they want the job. So not 100% sure, you know, we're just speaking in general conversations with this brake phone call, that our experience is if they're calling for brakes, and we've already done a competitive pricing survey in our area to all the big box shops, and we have the lowest price. We're not the cheapest because we didn't call some private shops or some smaller brick and mortar places, and I'm sure you're going to find somebody in those places that will do a brake job for half of what we do, or mark up the parts $10 and charge them an hour's labor. I guarantee that goes on. If that customer has enough time, he will ultimately find what he's looking for that price. So my opinion, when people are calling, it's not always for the convenience factor. I think I could call it more information seeking because they don't know, and I could be wrong, and that ultimately, if you're calling around, like for me, if I'm calling around, it's because I got a high price that's way outside of my budget. This is just me, right? I called around and said, hey, I need a roof for my house, and they're like, hey, I can't tell you how much a roof for your house is. I have to come out and take a look at it. And if that's the phone call that you get from everybody, right, you're going to have someone show up to your shop, show up to your house to give you an estimate. Well, in our business, we have so many different ways of people doing business, right, that they will just shoot a price. The customer will feel that that's the price that you told me, and that's no BS. This is the price that you told me, and this is all I was willing to pay. And I don't care if you told me it was, you know, $8,000 more than $100. I'm not doing anything other than what you quoted me for. So ultimately, the customer who's on the phone is getting what they want, unless the industry, you know, stands up and says, hey, I'm not quoting your roof, and they call 10 places and I'm not quoting your roof, I'm not quoting your roof, I'm not quoting your roof. Guess what's going to happen? Somebody's going to show up to your house and quote a roof. And then that's the process that consumer is going to go through. They're going to call another roofer and they're going to say the same thing. And they're like, okay, Joe's Roofing, I need an estimate. When can you come out and give me an estimate? You follow me? And typically it's 3 estimates for something like that. So for me, I'm calling around and I find that something's out of whack, that's out of my budget, I need a little bit more information for me to say, hey, what am I going to do? And I think that's different for everybody based on customers with disposable income and customers with no disposable income, right? They have no money to put gas in their car, but they need car repairs and they don't really know what to do. And they can't get third-party lending, right? So I think that's kind of what our area is for the most part when the phone rings, is that some financially challenged consumers, and then some that are not. I mean, we have plenty of customers who come in and fix their cars and go about their day, and they don't question how much. They don't go to the internet and they don't dick around. They're like, hey, I'm buying you and your services. I trust what you're saying. I want my car fixed right, and I want it done today. And I don't feel that. For me, our center has a huge majority of that consumer. You follow me? I think we have a small percentage of that consumer that says they'll come in now, they'll leave their car, they'll go do whatever they got to do, and they'll fix, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 or thousands of dollars worth of repairs, come pay for their job and be on their way, and I won't see them until they need something else. You know, I think that's kind of that. And I think the other area where the phone rings for us, you know, from the top tier customer down to the middle to the bottom, is for some reason or another, it just potentially feels that way for me. I can't prove it. But, you know, you have to try and accommodate who you can. And I ultimately say this all the time with Rachel is I watch a small percentage of the customers, new customers, who actually show up or a walk-in who are not interested in building a relationship whatsoever. They're on their phone as soon as they walk through the door. They're having a conversation with, their mom, their dad, their baby's mama, their drug dealer, I don't know. And don't give you any opportunity for real to build the relationship. And I see that more often than ever, even in my own store at the counter. I observe this. And, if Rachel gets the opportunity to build a relationship, right, with the customers who want that relationship, who want to be on a first name basis, who, when they call, Rachel gets them priority service. When they call, if there's a problem, it's an immediate response. Hey, how can we resolve it? What's going on? What can we do to help you? So many benefits for the consumer who's willing and who wants to build a relationship with their service provider. And I feel that is difficult. And it's not that when you come into my center, it's a complete crap hole and it's dirty and everyone's attitudes are bad. It's not like that. And I've been in shops that are complete skank holes, dirty. The mechanics are dirty. The shops are disgusting. The waiting room's disgusting. And people are doing business there. We're not going to discuss that, but they're going there and getting their car worked on. For what reason? I'm not really sure. It smells like a urinal. It looks like a dog pooped all over the place. The floors are disgusting. The bays are disgusting. And they have work orders, absolutely nowhere to park. There's cars all over the place with flat tires, been sitting forever, and they're dropping your car off and getting it fixed. So, there's a lot of reasons on why, and I would tell you it's probably because they're the lowest price person that they can deal with, but I don't know. But yeah, so that's it for the phone. So I said I would make a commitment to improving our phone procedures at my shop at Meineke Sentiments. And of course, we want our business to grow. And as more people become disengaged and more consumed in social media, their cell phones, and themselves, it becomes more difficult. So I'm sure that somebody's going to have more to this, but people still call. And I think building your best relationship is that intimate part of what we do. And then the world has evolved into, contactless communication. I just don't think that our world in automotive, that you can have a complete 100% contactless intimate experience. I think you need that. Although the world is changing so much to where they just click, they don't have to talk to anybody, and then someone shows up and brings them a package, right? They just click and all their bills are paid. They don't have to talk to anybody. I really don't have that specific answer. Like making online appointments without talking to somebody, for me, excuse me, if I committed to the online appointment traffic, not generated by a phone call first, it would be havoc and hell and such a horrible experience at my store, because we have a 4-bay shop and vehicles are not easy to work on. And we have so many parts issues going on that if I schedule an appointment for somebody, let's say at 8 a.m., that person doesn't show up at 8 a.m. and there's people waiting to get their car fixed at 8 a.m., I bump that person. And 9 out of 10 times, or maybe 8 out of 10 times, that person shows up late for us. And now they're pissed because they didn't get in. We're like, hey, we told you to be here before 8 o'clock, that this store was volatile, and we never know what we're going to get at 8 o'clock. And don't be mad. You should be prompt. And I've done many videos about this, like, well, I just got up. Well, I don't care. That's just how I feel. Like, I carve time out for you to be here at 8 o'clock so we can give you the service that you deserve. And then we get every excuse on why you couldn't commit or show up for the service, and it's more often than ever, and people get pissed off about it. And you know what? I'm not going to do that. And I'll just give you a scenario that the other day, a customer who we've worked on years ago and I haven't seen in years pulls up. Caleb and I were working. We were double teaming jobs. We were busy. And he's standing at the bay and says, "I just want a price on my exhaust." And I'm like, "All right, well, go see Rachel and see what she can do for you. I know today that you're going to have to drop it off for us to do that." He's like, "No, can't you just give me a quick estimate?" Now, mind you, just before he rolled in, there was another car that just came off the tow truck with the customer in the tow truck. That was just got dropped off and down. Tow truck driver left. Customer was in the waiting room. Waiting room that has an established relationship with Rachel and myself. Now, this guy hasn't been around for a while, so he hasn't needed an oil change or a tire plug or an air filter or wiper blades. You follow what I'm saying? He has not consumed my services in a few years, and I don't know why. And it wasn't because he doesn't like us, because he showed up again to consume services just years later. So I got Caleb finished. We had other car in the shop. We had one bay open. I just said, "I'm not stopping what I'm doing to give you an estimate." So Rachel came out. She goes, "You just won't put his car up in the air and give him an estimate?" Absolutely not. So after he left, so Rachel got him to leave, to find a way to come home or come back, and we offer rides and all that stuff. So I guess he finally just realized that I wasn't going to give him what he wanted. And the reason that I didn't give him what he wanted is because we were busy. There was a customer that was there before him, and she deserved my time before his. I only have 4 bays, so 3 are busy and 1's open, and she's next in line. And I have wholesale work that's been bumped, that's sitting to get worked on too, so that's not priority as of yet for my day. But this is the behavior the consumer, was looking for. Is like, "Hey, I'm here now. Just look at my car and I'll be on my way and I'll come back," or whatever the case may be. And I just stood my ground and said, "I'm not doing it." There was a customer in the waiting room who was here before you, nor did he care what was going on in my world. I do care what was going on in his world, but I just couldn't work it out for him. So when he left, I went up to the waiting room, and the lady who had the tow in was sitting in the waiting room. She's concerned about why her car felt like it had no transmission or was stuck in first gear. She was there last week, and she had an oil change and some maintenance work done. By no means was she blaming us for anything, but I had to prioritize her right then and there because she was there. And if I would have just grabbed his car, put it on the lift, up and down, or whatever the case may be, I didn't feel that was right. Now, if she wasn't there, she really wouldn't know what was going on, so I could have technically done it and pushed myself and my staff into a position where I didn't want them to be. Ultimately, I would like the car dropped off and give us time to properly service your vehicle and needs. So when I walked up to this customer, Rachel had her signed in, and I said, "Hey, I apologize for what that guy was saying, because he tried to get me to bring his car right in. I sent him up to the office for Rachel to do." And I said, "Absolutely not. Would I take his priorities and needs before yours? You were here all the time, and you're the next car in my shop." And I just seen a wave of relief come off of this customer's face. Excuse me, that I wasn't putting her on the back burner. She was more important than anyone else that went on in that place at that point in time. And I felt that was the right thing to do. Now, other shop owners probably would have just stopped what they were doing, right? Ran over the customer who had her car towed in, who was standing in the waiting room, seeing all that, and would say, "Well, why is he getting in the shop before me?" So it could, tiptoe around and say whatever they want. "Well, your car's dropped off and we don't know, and he's here." I just wasn't going to do that. So ultimately, in the end, I got her car in. I diagnosed it. We figured out the solution. We told her what we were going to do to get started, and then she went on her way. And then that guy came back, right? Dropped his car off, and then I could put his car up in the air because I didn't need to have her car in that bay anymore. Put his car up in the air, and then we called him and said, "This is what your car needed," and he fixed it. But a lot of those scenarios, people roll into the shop and just say, I need a quick oil change or a quick tire plug. And this goes to the phone too. So if you tell a customer and you know that the shop's busy and you can't take care of them, you take that phone call, blah, 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 blah. You do all the spiel, you're doing the phone thing. And then you say, come over now, right? Come over now. And then he rolls up. There's cars all in the parking lot. All the clipboards are full. All the bays are going. And we're not a quick lube, so it's typically not all of our bays are full of oil changes. It's typically repair work. You have to be careful. So now you invited this person over who thinks that you're going to take care of him right away. You built that relationship. You cemented him to hop in his car and drive however far he's driving. Could be 2 minutes, could be 10 minutes, could be an hour. And then when he shows up, he's like, hey, and you close at 5 and he shows up at 4:40. Yeah, I'm here and he told me to come right over. You're just going to look at it right away and you're like, how am I going to do this? Every bay's full, wheels are off. We closed in 10 minutes because this guy couldn't show up. I talked to him at 12 o'clock. He shows up at 4:40. He told me to come right over. Or you just pick any scenario. You told me to come right over. And it was 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And every bay is still full. And he's expecting you to get his car right in, right out, tell him what's wrong with it. Either fix it or go on his way. And you can't. You can't deliver that service. So that's a little risky to just always lead with bring it in now. So for us, the bring it in now is if I know that customer can show up in a reasonable amount of time on bring it in now, I would do that for them. Bring it in now. If you say bring it in now and they show up 2 or 3 hours later, that commitment for me is out the window. I have moved on to other customers who are serious about getting their car fixed. And this happens a lot. So the bring it in now thing, if you can get that opportunity, is dangerous. And then if you can say bring it in now and drop it off, and a lot of people, when you say bring it in now and drop it off, that doesn't resonate with most of the people that we talk to. I can't tell you how many times we said, excuse me, bring it in, drop it off now, and we'll get to it sometime today for you, or we'll get to it as soon as possible. They bring it in and they're saying, well, I was just going to wait. I'm like, we have like a 4-hour wait right now, and you really want to sit here for 4 hours? I don't really want anyone sitting in my waiting room for 4 hours, for many reasons. Because sometimes we just have that many issues going on in the bays with products and parts and vehicles that there's no way of taking care of that customer. But yeah, he said bring it over right now. We said bring it over right now and drop it off. And what that means is you sign in, you drop your keys on the counter, and you go about your business. That means you go someplace else, and we'll call you and we'll let you know what's going on and let us have the opportunity to deliver the service that works for you and I, meaning it works for the business and it works for you, and it goes seamlessly. If you're sitting here snapping your fingers and tapping thing and saying how long and why, and I actually had a customer say, well, why are you bringing this car in before mine? Were you here at 8 o'clock? No. Did you see the parking lot was full and other customers dropped off their cars and everything was busy? Yes. So you're at the back of that list. I don't care that you're sitting here and waiting. I've already made commitments to other customers that I'm going to get on their car as soon as the next bay is available. And that means when bay opens up, that next car comes in, the next car comes in, the next car comes in. And even though you are waiting here, and this is just how I do things, you were told to drop it off. And you didn't. So now that you were late for your appointment, you're just late in general, there's other customers ahead of you, and you don't like that. So, it's very, very tricky for a smaller store with phone skills and management and bay management. I don't believe that anybody in our business right now has enough staff to accommodate the conditions at certain times. That's just my experience. The bigger shops probably do, but then again, this is what this video is about. Maybe somebody will start talking about it and maybe tell me some things that maybe I can improve. I'm sure there's many things that I could do in my environment and location and shop to make a difference. Some things I'm willing to change, and some things I'm willing not to change. I believe in, if you're there and you have a relationship, that you deserve priority service. And the new customer, if they can't show up on time, or you know, show up on time, keep their appointment time, and then still demand you when they're showing up to your location. And it always seems like those problems come when you're busy, right? Because you don't usually have those problems when you're not busy, but it always seems like it falls into that place as, hey, you're busy and I just need a tire plug, and everybody's busy and you don't have time to do that. And we don't just go out and pop a plug in someone's tire. It actually gets inspected to see if the tire is in good, safe condition. And if it's not, on their way they go to the next shop that'll plug a rotten, bald, cracked tire. Just give me some examples. So let me know what you think of this video. Thanks for watching. I got to wake April up. We got to get going.